It's a no-brainer for any Team Fortress 2 player who has played on any Valve server pre-Meet Your Match that auto-balance could be frustrating. Yet, it was something that brought a bit more consistency to games, and with the current system we have now, auto-balance could be a good thing if it's implemented well. So many matches in Team Fortress 2, at least in my personal experience and discussing it with some of my other pub friends, have been one-sided, and the current system promotes being one-sided. So, how do I propose that we administer auto-balance so it keeps pubs exciting, but not be a too invasive system? Number 1, players should be allowed to pick sides, but only pre-match. Partying with friends is a lot more fun when you can choose to face against them as well. If I have 6 friends, but we all want to face against one friend, or do a 3 versus 3, we should be able to choose to do that. In addition, this means that players from a successful rematch have the ability to face off against one another from the last round if they so choose. This would promote a friendlier, yet still competitive atmosphere. But I need to stress that this only happens during pre-match. Letting players choose during the match would not work well with the current matchmaking system. Number 2, players switch sides during a new round. To prevent players from being griefed into winning for their team and then having to defend the last point as the opposing team, players should not be swapped mid-round. However, I am aware that some games there are mass quittings when a round is faring horribly. In such cases, where 4 or more players have left teams incredibly unbalanced, the game pulls the bottom scoring players from the enemy team. This may only occur once per round to not interfere with players looking to get into games as well. The idea is to prevent one-sidedness, but it is inevitable that some games will be a steamroll no matter how refined the system becomes. Number 3, top scorers have less priority for auto-balance. The better you do in a match, the less likely you should be for being swapped over to the enemy team. If we made it more likely, top players would be switching almost every round and would be quite frustrating. Imagine where the meta is to do poorly so you don't have to be swapped over next game, and then you go full throttle on the final round because you know you can't be switched. We should promote an atmosphere that says, if you do well for your team, you'll stick by your comrades. Now, you might wonder if that promotes the very one-sidedness I'm trying to prevent. In one way, yes, but it is Team Fortress 2. And there are very few times where there's actually just one player dominating an entire team. If the system moved over some mid-scoring players, that would change the game dynamic fairly well. What we want to encourage the most is players staying for as long as possible, which should ideally prevent a lot of auto-balance happening in the first place. Number 4, auto-balance should be used sparingly and not be as sensitive as it was before. Where auto-balance was a tool of trying to achieve perfect game balance at almost any given time by swapping left and right almost every minute it seemed, the newer auto-balance should just be called team balance. It should primarily be used when there's a major difference in point values. Just because a team underperformed one round by a little does not mean the entire team needs rebalancing. The enemy could just have made a good play that gave them incredible momentum. Or take Payload for instance. Barn Blitz is a terrifyingly good example of how last points in Payload can change the entire game dynamic. Or, alternatively, how a map is too focused on choke points, but I digress. I don't know what point ranges would be acceptable as too sensitive, I admit that. I'd highly encourage Valve to release a beta mode where team balance is a thing and work on it from there to find an acceptable range both by the developers and the player base. In addition to team balance, there are a few other things that we can tackle while we're talking about things that would improve the system overall. Number 1, the rematch system needs some further improvements. Having 6 players from each side is not enough, and more often than not, the current system will deny players who found other good players a chance at rematching with them. The players who underperform tend to find other matches to go about anyways. If anything, I'd like to see a system that can be reworked to just be 12 players total needing to agree to a rematch. That way, if the whole team agrees they found a good player, or if only a few players on blue want to rematch and a lot of red do, it's easier to keep the games going. if players could choose teams pre-match, this would work and would force an entire team who wants to play against one another to split themselves up. Number 2, a limiter on when players can join a server needs to be implemented for certain game modes. It's highly unfortunate when a player joins in the last 10 seconds of the final round of King of the Hill, or just seconds before a payload card is captured, when the flag and capture the flag is obtained and ends the game. It's within my opinion that players should not be allowed to join a game where, in attack and defense, players can no longer join if they are on the final map in the rotation and the final point is available for contesting. In Capture the Flag, players cannot join when a team has 2 points in their possession. Due to the nature of how control points work and how back and forth they can become, I think this game mode should escape the limiter because literally anything can happen in control points. In King of the Hill, players can no longer join if both teams have 1 round under their belt. In payload maps, players can no longer join if the final point is available for the cart. And for multiple stage maps, this only applies to the final stage. Number 4. This one is a little insignificant, but a little marker for payload maps that say whether it's round 1 or round 2. Joining mid-game can be rather frustrating in payload, but not knowing if it's your first or last round can be even more so. By round number 1 and round number 2, I mean if teams have already switched sides or not. It would be a small but welcome change. Number 5. The addition of random should be re-implemented. Putting yourself into the gauntlet to be placed anywhere in Team Fortress 2 public servers was once a feature, but it has since been removed. With the experience system, visual though it may be, I think players should be given a little bonus for throwing themselves and caution to the wind. If a player finds a match through random mode, they should receive a hearty plus 10% experience bonus that's only applied if they complete the round. That should take care of people cycling through random matches until they find one they like for the experience bonus, which I know some players would do. And if you're just saying players would do that anyways, well, they'd lose a lot more experience swapping from random game mode to random game mode instead of they just pick one and went with it. Yeah, sure, you can just check all the boxes, but random mode would give players a method to keep their preferred boxes checked when they want to play a specific game mode, so they don't have to go through the hassle of constantly rechecking everything. Not necessarily a meet your match thing, but spam filters are still needed. We still need a limitation in pubs for how often someone can give a message, and if they repeat the message same amount of X times, that they are automatically muted for everyone else. I don't know about you, but I'm still tired of the Lenny and the keybind spammers that are out there. Number 7, and finally, spectator mode needs to be re-enabled, but not as it was before. Spectator mode could be abused by spies and enemy players to see where engineers were setting up, what classes they had chosen, and anything else. Instead, let's put spectator mode on the vote system. If a player is acting suspicious, but people need proof, the team can call spectate on whoever, and then a player can watch them. If they confirm they're cheating, they can relay this to their team. Multiple teammates can spectate a player from the same team. Everybody just says, look at them, and people who are interested look, and if they find out that they're cheating, they call the vote. This prevents enemy spies on the enemy team seeing what everybody else is up to, but still gives a way for players on the same team to see first sight just exactly if they're cheating or not. And it's very easy to see most cheats, like if they're seeing through walls or if they just snap to position. It's super easy to see that stuff. In any case, those are my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what else you think Team Fortress needs to improve in the comments below, and if I gather enough, I will do a comment-based edition. Well, that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and please stay tuned because more will be coming your way. Bye bye.